Alright, so in the most recent update inside of Animated Adventures, they buffed one of the older units that was actually still pretty good. And that unit is Sukuna. It got a 50% damage boost, and that was 50% stronger than what it was. So we are going to be looking at the brand new stats for this unit, and we're also going to be comparing it to the other top bleed units, or at least these two. Greed and Chainsaw, which are two of the newest ones. I do know that there is the other one in the ammo hunt that's also a bleed unit, Hanji right here, but I don't have it, and from what I can tell, the damage on it isn't meant to be good, because this is more of an early game unit, and also a pretty cool cosmetic, which I'll make a video on once I get it. I just haven't been done doing that many rounds, so I'm a little bit behind. But let's go into an infinite, because I want to compare the new buff Sukuna to some of the top bleeds in the game. Now, if you don't know, this unit is a bit different from all the other bleed units in the fact that it has a special ability called Dismemberment, which once you get the cleave upgrade and also the very last ability, has a chance every single hit to basically take a limb off of every single unit to deal 20% more damage. And the pretty cool thing is on the last attack, it has a ton of individual hits, so there's a pretty high chance for it to happen once you max it out. So with that ability, even though it might have a little bit lower DPS than the other two units that I'm bringing, it might actually be meta to use this as a bleed unit instead. Of course, it isn't an immediate bleed, sadly. It doesn't bleed right away. It only needs a couple of upgrades before it actually starts bleeding. So let me go ahead and finish getting my money up real quick so that way we can actually start upgrading. And there we go, all the money's maxed out. So let's go ahead and start buying the upgrades on this unit. I'm just going to be showcasing the damage because I have showcased my stats on this unit. I don't have anything great on this unit because I never really used it. I think the only times I actually used this was in tournaments, and the traits were off anyway, so it doesn't really matter that I have adept on it. But let's go and start upgrading it. First upgrade now goes up to 6,000 damage on the first upgrade, so pretty high damage on the first one. Then the next upgrade after that is 10.3 thousand damage, then 13.7 thousand damage. Then we have Cleave. This is the ability that starts getting the dismemberment, and I think also the bleed, because I'm pretty sure right now it is not causing any bleed effect. But let's go ahead and buy the upgrade, which takes us to 17.8 thousand damage. Turns into a cone AoE, which, yeah, that should be causing bleed now. So it doesn't start out as a bleed, which is a bit disappointing, but I think the dismemberment might pay off. In fact, we can actually see this when it fights the boss, if it actually has bleed at this point. And just to show, like this one right here, activated, no bleed at all on the first upgrade. But with the upgraded version, this one actually has bleed, as you can see. It did take more damage after the hit. But let's keep going. 22,000 damage, 24.7 thousand damage on this upgrade, then 27.5, and then Malevolent Shrine. This is the big ability that really increases the damage from 27 to 75,000 damage. Cooldown also goes up by quite a bit, sadly. But when I buy this upgrade, everything shoots up, turns into a circle AoE, and then it summons the shrine. And look at that. That thing is going to have an insanely high chance to actually give dismemberment. The fact that it's hitting that often, everything dies right away. So this one does a ton of hits. There's a really high chance for dismemberment on the unit. But let's keep going. 89.4 thousand damage. And then that is the last upgrade on Sukuna. And let's see what the new DPS is. So on this unit, and this is without any traits and a pretty mid curse on, nothing too amazing. It does have 10,000 DPS as a bleed. And we can place a total of 3 of these down at a time. Now, with 10,000 DPS, that means there's 30,000 total DPS with all 3 of them. You can honestly beat that with just one placement on a lot of the meta units. So it's definitely not meta on damage. But as a support unit, that 20% it has is absolutely amazing. Because to like Pride, for example, which is a physical unit, if you have this unit alongside Pride, that 20%, well, let's take, for example, because I think right now it's around like 200,000 damage. Actually, let's do 100,000 damage. I don't remember the exact number Pride is at. With 20%, that's dealing an extra 20,000 damage per attack on the units that has it. So there's a pretty significant increase with this dismemberment on this unit. But just to directly compare it, let's do Chainsaw first, which is a little bit older. But I see a lot of people use this unit still. This unit at max has 80,000 damage, so a little bit less damage, but it does have 1 second faster attack, and it does also have 1 more placement. So this one definitely will have higher damage, And it also does have Superior 3, but, you know, even then, 10,000 DPS, so the exact same DPS for about the same amount of money. It's a little bit cheaper on Sukuna, but with 4 placements, that is still 10,000 DPS higher than Sukuna. Also, this is ignoring the bleed that it has, which increases DPS, but honestly, they're all about the same. We are ignoring the bleed DPS because that is its own amount of damage, which I don't really want to try to calculate right now. So if you can look into how many ticks it is for each individual unit and how much damage it is. It is based off of how much damage unit is dealing. But let's go ahead and also do Greed, which is a little bit of a newer bleed unit. 74,000 damage and 6.9 cooldown, so 2 seconds slower and about 15,000 damage less. And that's also ignoring the snatch things that increases the DPS. So this unit can get much stronger. It does have like 10,000 DPS here, but when the DPS increases from snatching units, as it just did, it can go up to 15 to 20,000 DPS with a total of 4 placements. So this one definitely seems much better for damage, because without any of the snatch, you have a total of 40,000 DPS. And then with the snatch, you're ranging 60 to 100,000 DPS across all the units put together. So if you want to go off of just pure DPS, a lot of the newer bleed units are probably better options. But if you are looking for a support unit that also has bleed, so you can deal with regeneration enemies and also support your physical units, Sukuna is probably a really good meta option. And also, one last thing, I don't think it's updated. I don't know a lot of people follow it, but it is a good little guide for general usefulness on the wiki tier list for this game, and I don't think it's updated for the most recent update. Or actually, it is. Sukuna is already a meta support, and they increase the damage by 50%. So it is actually much better now. So if you're already using this unit, congratulations. You're much stronger now. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think of the buff on Sukuna? Do you think it is meta for damage on bleed units? I know there are definitely some that have higher. I honestly think they just made a really, really good support unit for physical units even better, which is kind of cool. They actually buffed this one because all the other buffs have been on units that haven't really been that useful for a while. Except for maybe Julio, where they just made him like really strong and actually worth using as a unique. But yeah, I like the buff on this unit. It's honestly probably my favorite part of the updates is when they buff units.